Hello, everyone. Today, we'll be talking about the 3 key questions that you need to ask for retirement. And Matt, when someone is considering retiring, what are those 3 questions they need to be asking themselves and getting some answers?
Yeah, I think the first question you have to pretty much ask yourself is, what type of retirement do you want to have? You know, when you kind of visualize your retirement, what does it look like? And what I mean by that, Melissa, is we'll have some clients that'll come into the office and they'll tell us, you know what, I worked really hard my entire life. I put the kids through school. We sacrificed. You know, we focused on the family. This is now our time. You know, so we want to travel the world. We want to have a lavish retirement. We want to do things we couldn't do.
Buy that Corvette.
I want to buy the Corvette or Lamborghini or you know, whatever it is. And so that's what some people visualize for their retirement. Other clients, when we ask this type of question, they'll just say, hey, you know, if you can show me a way that I don't have to get up and go to work on Monday, that's fine.
Fine by them.
Yeah, you know, if I can't leave the house, I have to sit at home all day, I don't have any money to do anything else, that's fine. Well, obviously those are 2 very different extremes, right? And so they're going to require a different set of income and a different nest egg for you when you go into retirement. So that's basically the first question I ask is,
what do I want to do?
What do I want to do? You know, the other thing that sometimes people fail to really think about is when you go into retirement, it's exciting. It can be scary if you don't have a plan, but it's really exciting. But the one thing you have to consider is you're now going to have an extra 40 or 50 or some cases 60 hours per week that you need to fill that time doing something. And what we've noticed in most cases is that our clients will fill that time doing something that will require some money.
Yeah,
Every day's a Saturday.
Yeah,
right?
every day is a Saturday. So whether they go shopping or gardening or golfing or traveling like we just mentioned, you know, they fill those hours doing something. So there's a myth sometimes that individuals think they're going to go into retirement and they'll be able to really reduce how much income they have coming into the house. And we've found that most of the time that's just not the case. A lot of individuals need just as much money when they go into retirement as they need it when they were working.
Just for different things.
Just different things, yeah, exactly. Where they're spending the money changes, but they still kind of spend about the same amount of money.
Yeah.
So you need what kind of lifestyle, and what are the other questions you need to ask yourself?
Well, once you figure that out, once you've figured out what type of lifestyle, now you need to decide, okay, well, how much income is that going to take? And the first place that you generally will start looking at income in retirement is Social Security. And now, no one has, I mean, hindsight's 20/20, right? But you never can predict the future. You can only look at a few different things. Number one, how long do people in your family typically live? I mean, there's I think 567 different ways to integrate spousal benefits. So, I mean, we could spend hours and hours trying to figure out what's the best strategy to file Social Security. Or you could have a Social Security analysis ran to find out what will be recommended to you.
Yeah, you know, when you start to talk about Social Security, I know, Melissa, you and I have talked about it a little bit in the past, that there's a lot of information out there that people can read that will tell you that you should delay taking Social Security as long as you possibly can. Because every year you get, you know, about an 8% bump in what that income will be for the rest of your life. So let's say you want to put off taking it and drawing on it for as long as you can. We kind of feel a little different. We sometimes will recommend individuals take Social Security as early as they possibly can, because we've noticed that our clients that are maybe in their 70s or late 70s or 80s into their 90s, they're nowhere near as active as what they were when they were in their 60s and maybe early 70s. They travel more, they're involved in more things, and again, it requires more money. So you can make an argument to delay Social Security, but I would rather see individuals spend and enjoy the money when they really can. So like Dustin was mentioning, it's a big question that has to be answered for a lot of individuals, and that's why we've got a Social Security analysis that we can run for them so they know for their specific situation when they should draw it.
I think the biggest fear out there is, what if I run out? What if I run out? What if I run out? And do you find that people don't run out, they have some left over, or what usually happens?
It really, really depends on how things are set up. I mean, if you're completely exposed to risk, I mean, using mutual funds or bond funds or stocks, things like that, if we have another 2008, I mean, it's likely that they may not run out of money, but they would probably have to change their lifestyle.
Take a hit.
Pretty drastically. Or maybe go back to work. You know, that's really the...
No.
Yeah.
Not once you've retired.
Not too many people get excited about that option. So, I mean, if things are set up properly, if things went, you know, if we had another 2008, it may sting a little bit, but you're probably not going to have to go back to work or reduce your standard of living.
You know, the other thing that plays into that is whether they're running out of money or they have a lot left over at the end is, again, what do they want? Because we have some clients that will tell us that their children, the next generation, things just aren't going to be as good for them. Or maybe the kids are going more towards, charitable types of passions as opposed to running a business. And so sometimes our clients will say, I need to really protect this nest egg as much as I can because I need to pass as much as I can on to my
They want to
children.
leave it for the kids.
Or maybe grandchildren in some cases, but sometimes, they need to leave it to their kids because they know their children aren't going to have pensions. There's concerns over Social Security. Again, if they're not in a career path that's going to pay them like their parents were paid, then they want to leave them as much money as they can. The flip side of that is we'll have other parents that will come in and tell us that, look, we sacrificed all the years. We put them through 12 years of private school, and another 4 years or 5, 6 years of college, and we gave them a car, and we gave them a down payment on the first house, and so it's our time. So if there's any money left over, that's fine, but we don't have a strong desire to leave each of the kids $500,000 or $1 million or something of that nature. So it sometimes comes back to what do you want? And again, building some sort of an analysis around that to make sure that the path you're on will help you accomplish that.
So you've got your lifestyle, you've got your Social Security. Anything else that you should consider before taking the plunge when you're retiring?
I would say how are you going to handle inflation, and then how are you going to handle healthcare costs? We could talk all day long about healthcare costs, right? And not just going and visiting your doctor, but long-term care needs. Individuals are living longer and longer, but they're not always in great health when they're living longer and longer. So some individuals are going to need someone maybe to come into their house later in life to help them on a daily basis, or maybe they're going to need to go live in some sort of an assisted living facility. And all along the way, as you're paying for all these different things, you have to consider how you're going to handle inflation. Inflation has really been in check over the last 5, 10, maybe as many as 15 years. But historically speaking, inflation is going to run a lot higher than what it has been here recently.
Yeah, if you think about it, just using the average, and I was just looking at this the other day, the average inflationary rate over the last 100 years is right at 3%. So figure every 20 years, you're going to need to double what your income is.
Yeah, just about.
Yeah, so I mean, people are living longer, having longer retirements. If you're spending $3,000 a month now at 60, by the time you're 90, you may be spending $12,000 a month. I mean, so you really have to, you have to plan for those types of things.
And again, it all starts with an analysis.
And if you would like more information about the 3 key questions on retirement, you can visit swdgroup.com. And we want you to stay tuned for more Strategic Wealth with Matt Dickin right after the break.
At Strategic Wealth Designers, we like to take time to focus on different charities and organizations around town.
The team at Strategic Wealth Designers and I personally hold a passion for supporting local charities, and we feel it is extremely important to support the local community.
So here's one of our most popular segments, Strategic Wealth Cares.
WHAS 11 salutes Strategic Wealth Designers as a leading retirement and wealth management firm in Kentuckiana. The advisors at Strategic Wealth Designers have been helping retirees and pre-retirees live a safe and stress-free retirement since 2002.
Look, nobody's born knowing how to plan for retirement. So why not start your retirement education the same way thousands of Kentuckiana couples have by attending one of our educational seminars created and hosted by the financial professionals at Strategic Wealth Designers. The retirement professionals at Strategic Wealth Designers will show you ways to make informed decisions. For many, this workshop was the first stop on the road to their successful retirement. Register for an event that works best for you at swdgroup.com/events.
Today we want to welcome representatives of Maryhurst, and this is Katie Kern, the Vice President of Development and Communications. Also with us today is Marlon Cole, and she's a Maryhurst board member. For many years I've volunteered with this organization, and I know Maryhurst has a lot to celebrate this year. 175 years of serving young people and families in our community. It's really incredible, and there are several events to celebrate that incredible anniversary. But more importantly, first of all, I want to talk about how Maryhurst continues to be a vital part of this community. So for anyone who doesn't know, Katie, tell us what Maryhurst is all about.
Yes. Well, as you know, we have lots of families and children who are hurting in our community from abuse and neglect. In our state of Kentucky, we have over 8,600 children who are in out-of-home care today. And Mary Hurst prevents child abuse, we restore hope, and we empower victims of abuse. At the first signs of conflict in families, our renewal program, we have counselors that go into the homes, they can go into businesses, they can go into schools, and also families can go to a couple of our locations on the east side or west side and work with families, partner with families so that we stop abuse before it escalates to the level of where children need to be removed.
And that's something that's really new and cutting edge in protecting families in those services, isn't it? Going into the homes, trying to prevent it.
It is. We want children in homes. Children belong with families, with loving, supportive family members around them. Whatever that family looks like, that's what we want for our children at Mary Hurst. In our residential care program facility, that unfortunately, those are for adolescent girls who have had to be removed from their homes because it was no longer safe for them. But in that program, we restore their hope and we give them life skills, their education. We boost their confidence levels and let them know that they're great individuals as they are and that they can break this cycle of abuse in their family.
And when you talk about abuse and neglect, we're talking about the most severe abuse, the most severe cases of neglect. It's really startling, isn't it?
It is. Every day I'll think, well, I've heard the worst story that I could have heard, and then here comes another story, and I think that's just not possible. But when I see and meet the different alumni that have graduated from our program over the years, and we're able to celebrate their lives and what they've made of them, it's really powerful when you look at the resilience of human life and the potential that can be unlocked even in those worst of cases.
It is a wonderful program. Right now helping 500, is that what you said?
Yes, yes. We serve over 500 children every year, and that's in our renewal counseling program, that's in our residential program, and also our foster care program, which is for our children when they've graduated from our program and they're ready to move into a family environment where we can support them. We have restorative foster care, and so foster parenting is a lovely way to help support our community and children in need.
And Marlon, what, as a board member, what impresses you most about Mary Hurst and the Mary Hurst mission?
I think it's the commitment, the long-term commitment to really serving those most in need, and just the strategic thinking and innovation that Mary Hurst brings to the table in this scope of work. So it's a mission that I've known about for a long time, just now serving on the board in the last couple of years, and really embrace and can get behind. So it's an exciting time for the organization moving forward.
And families who might be watching, talking about the in-home care or someone who might need residential care, how can they find out more about Mary Hurst and Mary Hurst's mission?
Yes, well, they can visit our website at www.maryhurst.org for information. There's one person that'll answer the phone if they look up our telephone number and want to talk to somebody, and we will refer them to whomever they need to talk with.
So I am in a family, let's say, and I know there are problems. Things are coming that I can't control, or I want something better, and I reach out to you, but maybe I don't have a lot of money to pay for these services. I mean, how do I go about doing all of that?
Well, if you have Medicaid, you can get our services. We will schedule an appointment with you within 72 hours and talk with you. We will help file the insurance, so you don't need a lot of money. And if you do have Medicaid, we would love to talk with you.
I think everyone in our community, I hope a lot of people in the community know about the Dorsey Lane campus, but they don't know so much about going into homes and foster care too. Those are two of the things that you also do.
We do, and the reason why we've evolved is because we've listened to the needs of our children. And whenever a child aged out at 18, they weren't prepared. And so we said, oh, well, let's help them with some skills and independent living. And let's teach them, how do you get on a bus? How do you open a checking account? Everything that our parents have done for us. From 18 until whenever, we want to be there.
Mary Hurst becomes the parents. And before we leave, we want to talk about some exciting 175 years. There are some celebrations, I know, going on all year long, and a big one at Churchill Downs in the fall.
A very big one at Churchill Downs. Churchill Downs, over the past couple of years, has stepped up, and they're one of our greatest contributors, and we're very grateful for them. And they said this year it's 175. We want to celebrate in a big way. Come out to the track and let's do something special. We also are going to be celebrating with a Virgil Christian polo match. And then there's another big surprise that's going to be happening in November that we can't quite disclose yet.
Big surprise. And we also want to touch on, before we leave, planned giving. Mary Hurst has positioned itself, so if someone wants to leave money to Mary Hurst, how do they go about that?
Yes, well, they can contact me directly, Katie Kern. I'm in the development office, or just, again, go to the website and look us up. We will get you in contact with the right person. And there's a lot of benefits to planned giving, and I think people think, oh, well, I need to be very wealthy in order to think about giving a planned gift, and that's just not the case. And Marlon here is a great example of somebody who has worked with planned giving in the past and knows a lot about it.
So is it fairly easy for someone to set this up?
It is, and it really depends on what you're looking to do. There are opportunities not only to give to a charity, but also if you have some particular personal needs that you're trying to meet, tax issues, or if you're trying to set up an opportunity to have an additional income coming in, whether in your retirement or at some point for a loved one, you can do that. The most common gift is known as a bequest that one would leave in their will, naming a percentage or an amount to a charity. Also providing or naming the charity as a beneficiary in their life insurance policy. Those are very easy mechanisms to use in planned giving. There are other opportunities that I'm sure Strategic Wealth could help folks figure out, and working with their financial advisors that again can provide other giving opportunities that will meet their needs.
So lots of people to walk you through the process, right?
Lots of people.
Okay, and one more time, where can I find out everything I need to know about Mary Hurst, the celebrations, and the planned giving?
At our website, www.maryhurst.org.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So it's very important to be working with the right guide to keep you sharp, to make sure that you're still watching for those obstacles and watching for the pitfalls that could happen on the way down.
Look, nobody's born knowing how to plan for retirement. So why not start your retirement education the same way thousands of Kentuckiana couples have? By attending one of our educational seminars created and hosted by financial professionals at Strategic Wealth Designers. The retirement professionals at SWD will show you ways to make informed decisions. For many, this workshop was the first stop on the road to their successful retirement. Register for an event that works best for you at swdgroup.com/events.
Welcome back. Dustin, we talk all the time about there's really two different distinct phases that individuals go through when it comes to retirement planning. So obviously you have the accumulation phase,
Right.
which is while individuals are working and they're trying to accumulate their nest egg and hopefully get it as large as they possibly can. But at some point, usually within about 5 to 10 years of retirement, they start to shift and transition into the second phase of retirement planning, which of course is the distribution phase,
Right.
which says that you take this nest egg that you've created and now you start to try and turn it into a guaranteed income that you can't outlive, and you want to keep up with and outpace inflation, and then hopefully have some money left over for heirs and beneficiaries in the end. And you, I know, talk with your clients often about an analogy that I'd really love it if you can share that with our viewers here today.
Yeah, basically, the analogy is about climbing Mount Everest. And basically, when you go climb Mount Everest, you're probably going to hire a guide to do so.
I would hope so.
Yeah, so, and what there's typically a guide that specializes in helping you climb that mountain. And once you get to the top, the guy that helps you get down is going to be a different guide, believe it or not. And the reason for that is because your goals change. When you're climbing that mountain, I mean, you're trekking your way up. You're really focused on what's going on, but on the way down, there's some pitfalls or maybe some obstacles,
Some different risks.
that are going to be very different than it was on the way up. And as a matter of fact, there was, I believe there's been 250 people die on the climb for Mount Everest. And of those 250, believe it or not, 200 of them are on the way down. And the reason for that is a lot of times what happens is when people crest that mountain, they've made it.
They think they're there, right?
They're there.
Yeah.
So now what happens is their defenses go down. Now I've made it. I'm on the way down. There's no real risk at this point. Well, your guard's down. And you start to slide, and you're not going to stop once you're on Mount Everest or sliding down Mount
I
Everest.
wouldn't think so.
So it's very important to be working with the right guide to keep you sharp, to make sure that you're still watching for those obstacles and watching for the pitfalls that could happen on the way down.
Now, let's talk about some of those pitfalls or obstacles. As you're in the second phase of your retirement planning, that's the distribution phase like we were just talking about, what are some things that you think that you need to do differently than how you viewed your money or treated your money as you were in the accumulation phase?
Well, first of all, the amount of risk. When you're in the accumulation phase, market volatility, fine, good. It's actually a good thing sometimes because, if the market does fall, well, you're still not happy because your balance went down. But if you're still buying, you can look at it as an opportunity.
A good dollar cost average.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're taking advantage of that volatility. Once you reach the top and now you're actually on the way down, if we see market volatility and it drops that account in value, well, now you're in trouble. You're not taking advantage of it anymore. You just lose.
Well, and the other thing is, too, I believe on average it's going to take you, if you lose money in the market, it takes on average about 7 years.
That's right, yeah.
Right, just to get back to even. Now, sometimes it's a lot longer than that. Sometimes it's shorter, but the average is 7 years. And I think most people, as they get closer into retirement, they just don't have that luxury of time anymore.
And something else that people a lot of times don't realize is that a loss in retirement actually is going to hurt you more than a gain can help you. Think about it. If you have let's say $1 million portfolio and it drops by 50%, well, you're at $500,000, right? In order to get back to even, if you gain 50% back, you're not quite there yet, are you?
There, right.
Yeah, you'd only be at 750. So if you drop by 50%, you actually have to get 100% gain just to get back to even.
Just to break even,
Right.
Yeah, and that's why it takes so many years,
Right.
because you just don't see returns like that. Now, what would you recommend then, if you can't afford to take those types of losses, as you get closer and into retirement, as you start to go into the distribution phase? Do you just move everything to cash?
No. Well, you could, but you're gonna basically lose money safely at that point. So what we use is something called the rule of 100. Basically, what it is you take your age from the number 100, and that's the percentage of your portfolio that you want to be safe and protected and providing some guaranteed income. And then with the balance, if you're comfortable with risk, that's where you can go out and play with a little bit of market volatility if you're comfortable with it. So, for example, if you have someone that's 65 years old and they've accumulated $1 million, well, they would want $650,000 in a very safe environment. Then if they're comfortable with risk, they could go out and take it with the other 350.
So the other 350 you could use, obviously, like stocks or bonds or mutual funds or something like that.
Right.
But for that 650,000, what it sounds like you're saying is when you move from the accumulation phase of retirement planning into the distribution phase of retirement planning, you need kind of different tools in the toolbox, right?
Completely different
You need
tools.
different investments. So what would be some options that someone could use for that 650,000? You don't want to lose a lot of money on it, but like you said, you can't just leave it in the bank. You've got to get a return that's going to outpace inflation.
Yeah, hopefully you still need to be able to get a reasonable rate of return, but you just don't have to set the world on fire with returns as long as you never take any big losses. So you could use fixed annuities when they're paying good interest rates.
You can use indexed annuities. You can use high-quality bonds or maybe treasuries when interest rates get better. Even CDs when interest rates get better. You know, we want to still earn somewhere around that 6%, maybe 10% in some years. We don't ever have to go after those big years, though.
What would you say to a viewer that's watching right now that says, well, I think I'm in good shape because I've got a diversified portfolio. You know, not all my eggs are in one basket.
You know, that's a common misconception. And I even see a lot of times where people will have multiple accounts and they'll feel like they're diversified because of those multiple accounts. But when we really deep dive inside of those accounts to find out what's really going on, we find out that maybe the conservative portfolio over here owns Apple and Amazon, and then we find out the conservative portfolio over here owns Apple and Amazon.
Yeah.
And so we find out that all of these different portfolios aren't necessarily working together. They're probably all holding a lot of the same positions. So it's not really going to give you true diversification.
Well, I think what that comes back to is what we always recommend is that as you move closer into retirement, you really need to work with an advisor that specializes in working with retirees or, you know, on this distribution side of the retirement plan. Because I think a lot of advisors can be, you know, good general practitioners, can maybe help with both sides. But I think as you move closer into retirement, it makes sense to maybe use a different guide, you know, to use the Mount Everest analogy, or, you know, certainly use a different advisor to at least get a second opinion as you move into the distribution phase. Because it's usually not the same advisors that are really good at helping you accumulate the nest egg. Usually are not the same advisors that are really good at helping you distribute it.
I have another analogy for you, Matt. It's kind of like if let's say I needed knee surgery, and I went to my family doctor and I said, hey doc, my knee's been hurting, I think I need surgery. Well, he might be able to get his manual out and you know, figure out a way to get it done.
Probably try and do it, right?
Yeah. It may have some success, but I'm probably going to have a hobble at some point. But what I want to do is I want to go to the specialist that does 15 knees a day for the last 15 years. Well, that's what we've built our practice to be. We specialize in retirement planning. We're going to do 15 retirements a day, or you know, and that's the tools and strategies that we use on a daily basis. So I always think it's important to use someone that understands those types of things.
Yeah, well, that's a great analogy. Well, if you have any questions about your portfolio, or if you're getting closer to the stage of maybe transitioning from the accumulation side of your retirement plans over to the distribution side of things, and you need a second opinion, or like I just mentioned, you just have some general questions, then feel free to contact us at the office. We'd be happy to have you meet with one of our advisors.
Look, nobody's born knowing how to plan for retirement. So why not start your retirement education the same way thousands of Kentuckiana couples have? By attending one of our educational seminars created and hosted by financial professionals at Strategic Wealth Designers. The retirement professionals at SWD will show you ways to make informed decisions. For many, this workshop was the first stop on the road to their successful retirement. Register for an event that works best for you at swdgroup.com/events.
WHAS 11 salutes Strategic Wealth Designers as a leading retirement and wealth management firm in Kentuckiana. The advisors at Strategic Wealth Designers have been helping retirees and pre-retirees live a safe and stress-free retirement since 2002.